Hi, everyone. This is Gail Scott Channeler, and Happy New Year. This is my first video for 2023, and this video is a message that came in on January 1st, 2023, and it's really about how you're going to be able to navigate the energies that are coming online for 2023. We know that this is a very exciting year. There's a lot of things happening right now. And this video will hopefully give you some direction on how to manage your energy, other people's energy. And it really doesn't matter when you listen to this video. And this is actually true of all of my videos. All my channeled messages come through and they're really relevant for any moment in time. So if you go back through my video list, you will see that there are all kinds of topics, and actually those videos are relevant for you right now today. So you can listen to them and watch them and get the messages from them anytime, and you will be able to relate to those messages and they'll make sense to you. And so whether you're listening to this January 1st message in January of 2023, or whether you're listening to it in September of 2023, it really doesn't matter, because the energies that come through me are very clear that we use time as a construct for us to be able to just navigate this energetic field that we live in. And so if you can just take the date out of the way and just get the message and say, how does this relate to me right now? So this message came through from an energy that called themselves the light. And if you'll go back through all my videos, you'll see that I have lots of different energies with lots of different names, and they have a connection to a specific kind of message, most of them. So this one said, we shall call ourselves the light. And what we mean by that is we are the light that illuminates everything. And you may wonder, what do we mean by the word everything? Excuse me just a second. So they want you to imagine that all things exist in the world. And when they say in the world, they mean everywhere. So you may think that we exist just here on planet Earth, but let me just, enlighten you. We do not. We exist everywhere all at the same time, meaning that if you think that you have past lives, or you think there's a future timeline that you're working into, avail yourself of the idea that that is all actually happening right now in this moment. And think of it more like parallel realities. And so you can actually step in and out of those particular realities where you exist, where your spiritual energy, your form, your consciousness is having an experience. And so they're saying, we bring you this message that we are the light, but we also add that not only are we the light, but you are also the light. So this is a message that I'm trying to bring to people. Don't think that because you might be having a darker experience or a more difficult experience on life right now, that means that you're not the light. You're the light. You're just an expression of the light. So, some people might say, well, how does that relate to the dark? Evil forces, negative things. And so what they're saying is that, yeah, well, the dark exists too, but we use the words to express the meaning and give significance to different experiences and energies. So they said the dark is simply an expression that we use in our world to describe the contrast, the opposite of the light, you could say. And so language is how we compare one thing to another. So they said, you may have noticed that there are different levels of light and dark existing in our world right now. And some people will see that and some people will not. And for some of us, it's a very uncomfortable experience to see things as dark, to see them as negative. So they said, it's not necessarily that darkness is negative. And when I was channeling this, I'm like, what? And they said, yes, we're going to say that again. It's not that these things are negative. It's just that we as a humanity have actually given the word negative to those things in order to describe them as a certain experience or person or thing. So they go on to say, you know, well, everything exists all at the same time, which I kind of explained a little earlier. And so they said, you know, does that mean then that there's both negative and positive? And they said, yes, it is. It might be a little confusing to you. And how do you relate all of that information now into the world that you're living in? How can you live in a world that happens to have more peace and joy and love and positive experiences when you're living in a world that seems to be surrounded by dark and negative? And they said, well, that's because you are perceiving things as dark and negative. Because in actual fact, there's only one world. There's only really one existence. But within that one world, there's one of everything. There's one of you, there's one of me, but there's another one of you and another one of me. And there's actually trillions and trillions of everything. And we're just simply a part of that as a measure of one. So there's millions and trillions of ones of everything. And here we are, we're having this one experience in the bigness of everything. So they said, if you're having a hard time kind of seeing what that might look like, think of yourself as a grain of sand on a beach. And so it's an experience that you can understand. Oh, here I am, I'm this one grain of sand. I'm this one human being. I'm one in the grain of sand in all these grains of sand on the beach that belongs to the beach. And here I am this one person, this one consciousness, this one element of energy, this one knowing, this one person in this massive world filled with consciousnesses, filled with people, filled with experiences, filled with things. And so here you are, you're living in this particular dimension, in this world, at this time, in this particular frequency field. Here you are, trying to make sense of what's happening in the world that we're living in, right? And for a lot of us over the last 3 years, it's been, what is happening? How can we begin to make sense of this world that we're living in? So they're a little comical. They're like, well, you know, that might be the first thing to consider, that you're trying to make sense of it. And we're living in a frequency field. Because we're living in an energetic frequency field, it's a little hard to make sense of it because we're using our brains. And our brains, our logical minds, are simply a programmed patterning, a series of electrical impulses that's been created by all of our experiences, whether in this life or others. And we're trying to make sense of a world that we're living in, but it's becoming harder and harder because it's changing so fast. And so it's difficult because we are trying to figure it out, believing that what we think and what we believe is the only thing that there is to think and believe. And so that makes it a little challenging. So they're going to give us a bit of a tool, let's see, to assist us to be able to expand that awareness of who we are and what's possible. And I'll explain that a little bit in the next part of the message. So they're saying, you're trying to make sense of a world based on what you already know. And yet here you are, you're moving into a world where you don't know what's coming. And there's things still to be shown to us, revealed to us, technologies to be taught to us. And we're literally learning on the fly. So some of us would actually not even be aware that there's anything different really going on. They're just aware of what's happening, and they're not aware of any differences. They're just living their lives, making their choices, believing that what they think and believe is real, and that really, if we begin to tap into some of the energies that are coming on board, that are available to us in our new world that's coming in, then maybe there might be another way to exist, another way to live. So they've given me, my guides are very good at giving me pictures, because that's kind of how I vision. I'm a seer, and so I see visions. So they said, we want you to think of it like this. We want you to imagine that you live in a room, just a regular room, square room, 4 walls, floor, ceiling, door. And you live within this space. Of course, it's hypothetical. Of course, most of us do live in some kind of a space like that in the physical form. But think about this more from an energetic space. Hypothetically, you're in this field that is you, that is the construct of you. And you could have solid walls, you could have transparent walls, you could have an open door, a closed door, you could have a ceiling, no ceiling. But this is the space in which you inhabit. And depending on how you structure this space will depend on what you can perceive and see that's going on inside of your own reality and outside of your own reality. So if you're a person that has perhaps transparent walls and an open door, and you can see what's going on, then you're really aware of everything that's happening. And there's a certain level of consciousness to who you're being as you're living in the world. They've told me there's not many people like that on the planet yet, but that's what we're moving towards. Or you could be, or you might know some people who are in their room, doors closed, everything is sealed up, absolutely no clue about what's going on outside of their own world. You might know some people like that. Or you may have a door that is just slightly ajar. It's just open a little bit to the outside world, but not enough that would actually create some kind of change within your room. It's like, imagine that your door is open a little bit and it's pouring rain outside, but you're nice and dry inside. Nothing's changing inside your energetic field, even though there's a lot of things going on outside of you. Or you may be the kind of person that has transparent walls. You see everything that's going on outside of you, but your door's firmly closed. So as much as you can see and you're aware of all the things that are happening in our world all around us, you've decided that your door is firmly closed. You're going to stay in your space. You're not willing to move out of your comfort zone of your life, even though you can perceive and see that there are other things going on in your world that perhaps are not working for you, or that would create some kind of a shift for you. And what they've said is, this is our choice. And this has come up in many other messages that have been brought through, free will, free choice. We get to choose. So the theme of this message really is about, it's your choice, what you choose to do moving forward. And they brought this message on January 1st, 2023, because that's the timeline that we work with. So they said, how are you going to choose to move forward into the next space of time in this world, knowing that actually everything exists all at the same time? And they use January 1st because we use that as a measurement of time. They've also brought me back to the idea that there is a video on my feed all about time and about how time is a construct. So if that statement, time is a construct and everything's happening all at the same time, and how can that possibly be? Go back to that video and watch that video to get a deeper insight into what I'm talking about when I say that time is a construct. So they said, here you are. We as a humanity, we have constructed a measurement of time called time, and it allows us to see how time flows, beginning, middle, end, years, centuries, weeks, months, days. And so, here we are, we've gone through the past 3 years, let's say, 2020, 2021, 2022. And now we're asking ourselves, well, what's next? Like, what's coming next into our world on planet Earth? There's another video on my feed called What's Going to Happen Next. So you can always go back and check that out. So here you are. You're wondering what's going to happen? Who am I going to be? What's going on? Well, they've said, you know, you get to decide how you live your life. And so you're only limited by your own awareness level within this space that we're calling a room, your energetic field. So you could choose this year to open the door, and you could choose to take down the walls. You could choose to make them transparent. You could begin to understand that you are only limited by what you've already experienced in the world. That is what's been going programmed into your brain. And that's really how most of us live. We think that what is real is what we know and believe to be true, but it's based on everything that we've lived so far. It's not a bad thing. It's just, this is evolution, people. This is the up-leveling of our consciousness for us to begin to understand that we're not limited by what we think we know, how we understand the world to be. We get to choose, we get to use January 1st, 2023 as a stepping off point for us, because, you know, a lot of us use this date to create new things, intentions, to set goals, to plan. So they said, you know, you have to be willing to understand that we're moving into a very different energy. And everything that you know, or you think you know, is limited by only what you've done, what you've lived, what you've perceived. But wait a minute, doesn't everything happen all at the same time? Maybe I can access some of that other stuff from other lifetimes, other realities, other energy fields to help me, to help you, to live in this world, to create a new reality for yourself. Now, that requires you to be open. Kind of requires you to be willing to look at new things, maybe read new material, listen to new people, watch new information, open up your level of conscious awareness to the idea that there's a lot more happening than what is just existing in your little room, in your little space in the world. And this actually, this ability to be in this way is actually available to you at any point in time. And there are parts of you, there are versions of you, let's say, that are already having this experience in other dimensions. Might sound a bit woo-woo, but it's true. There's already fluidity, transparency, flow in other worlds. But we don't have that quite yet here on planet Earth. But that's kind of where we're going. So how do you move forward? Are you going to choose to stay within the confines of your room, of the world that you live in, that, you know, everything that you think that you know? Or are you willing to actually learn new information, to understand that there's different ways of thinking, to expand the field that you live in so that you're not limited by just stuff from the past or just the way your current brain is programmed? Because when you do that, you actually access a higher vibrational field and more light. So then you can see things more clearly. You can experience things more deeply, more completely. You get a sense of hope, possibility. And sometimes when you do that, you're going to bump up against things that are going to challenge that thought. You're going to hear things and you'll be like, say what? No, that can't possibly be happening. Or you're going to hear things and you're going to go, that doesn't feel right to me. So now your internal barometer is beginning to speak to you way more loudly than it ever was before. And you might say, doesn't sound right. I think because someone's trying to pull the wool over my eyes, or I feel like I'm being lied to, or maybe am I being played? And we can have those experiences, of course, in the human realm with other people. And so maybe you begin to look at the bigger picture of our world and you say, maybe I don't actually believe what I'm being told by bodies of people, organizations, structures, infrastructures that perhaps don't actually have my best interests at heart. And how can I myself be my own superpower, basically? How can I create a different life for myself? So they've also said to me, now, don't worry about the how. Don't worry about how you're going to create this new reality. It's like you have the vision that you're going to build a new room, a new house, a new life, but you don't have to worry about how it's going to happen. You just have to start with this knowing, this awareness, this willingness, this ability to notice, to open your eyes, that's going to actually create prompts for you so that when you get the choice, you have the concept, oh, maybe there's something else I wasn't aware of. Maybe there are more things available to me. Maybe I can access something else that I didn't know about before. And now all of a sudden, you are tapping into other fields of consciousness, other energetic vibes, other awarenesses. So how does this work in the real world? Well, you know, people in the spiritual world would say that you're having an awakening. You know, you're noticing synchronicities. You're perhaps seeing strange numbers, 1111, 222, 444, or things that you want to have happen suddenly happen. Things match up. What you're looking for suddenly shows up. What you speak out loud comes into existence, manifestation, not because you created it from what you already know, but because you opened up your field so that your vibration changed, who you are changed, and now those things can come into alignment with who you are being now. So maybe you are in prayer and you're asking for something, and boom, it shows up. Or, you know, you're telling someone about something, I really would love it to be like this, and then 2 weeks later, that thing shows up in your life. And, you know, the idea that in terms of being spiritual, it's like, well, you know, you're not going to just go from your logical brain and say, well, that was just a coincidence that happened. No, you're going to acknowledge that you are actually the manifester, the power that created that it's your power that's behind that. You've expanded this energetic field, this space that you live in, and you've said, you know what, I want a piece of that, and I want a piece of that. And you took the ceiling off your room and you said, yes, I'd like more, please. I'd like more of this. I'd like more of that. I'd like to experience more. So what you're doing is you are shifting your perception of the idea that you're limited by only what you know, only what you've already had, and you can tap into this everything, everywhere, all at once vibrational field because you have the power to do that. You are the light. So you can access it. You can connect to that light in any moment in time. Now, sometimes this transition is not that easy, right? Because, you know, you've practiced coming from that old way of being, that patterned, programmed field, that brain. So in a sense, you know, you kind of have to rewire your brain. You have to let go of what you perceive to be the only way that things work. And you really need to step into a place of not knowing. So you let go and you surrender what you think to be the only truth of the world or your world or however things work. And you say, I'm aware now that I can actually tap into other things, other possibilities. And those unlimited possibilities are available to me right now. And they're everywhere, all at once, all at the same time. And you can do this slowly. You can just dip your toe in and do it a little bit at a time. Or you can go all in. You can say, okay, I'm going to say, I know nothing. And I'm open to learning what my soul wants me to know, what my soul wants me to experience, what a higher version of me in another vibrational field wants to bring for me. Of course, this doesn't happen because it's January 1st and you've set some goals and you've set an intention, and they said, you know, we're not making light of the fact that we do that as humans. It's just that's the energetic flavoring that we have on January 1st. So they said, you know, you start your year off with these kinds of thoughts. So they're just latching on to that and saying, we're just going to capitalize on this particular date because that's how we function here on planet Earth. And so you can choose to do it as quickly or as slowly as you want. And the easier it gets, the more light your life will have. In fact, the more opportunities will show up. Things will start to line up in ways you could never possibly have imagined because you were existing from that other time-space reality. Sometimes it's hard to let go because, you know, it creates a bit of a security for us. It's how we control our world. So, you know, you want to be aware that if you hold on to the past, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to evolve into this new space, but it's not something you can't do. You can do it. And, you know, these energies that I'm bringing through, they're here to support us in this journey. Because once you let go of what you think to be the only truth, you recognize that all truth exists. Everyone's truth is true for them. And you get to be open to new truths. And so other new things can show up in your life and you can have new, better experiences. It does mean that you're going to shift, you're going to change. People around you might say, who are you now? I'm not sure I believe what you're telling me. They're in the old paradigm, remember? Not a bad thing, just that's where they're at. So here you are, you're transforming who you've been and coming into this new way of being. So I'll just give you a little taste of that. In 2005, I started in therapy and discovered that I was, you know, horribly codependent. And I remember saying to my therapist at the time, well, who am I going to be? If this is who I am and this is how I think and this is what I do, how does this work? How am I going to change? And she said, you're going to find new ways and you're going to practice them and you're going to begin to do new things, think new thoughts, say new words, practice new behaviors. And that's what I'm talking about, people, is really tapping into the possibility that you're a creator. You are the creator of your own reality and you can let go of what doesn't work. You can create something new and you can pull, like almost like a magician, you can pull a rabbit out of a hat. You know, I'm talking energetically here, out of the energetic vibrational field, that which you desire. And you can begin to create a more light-filled world. No, and remember, not just for you, but for everyone else in your world. Because when you're coming from that light energy, that's the energy of love, and it's far stronger than any of the other energies that we've been working with. It is the highest vibrational field that you can sit in. So this is not a message for everyone. This is a message for those who want to hear it. It's a message for you if you're ready. It's a message for you if you're looking for something different, if you want something new in your life and better than what you've had. And it's looking for a life that has more flow, more ease, more fluidity, more calm, more peace, more love, more joy, more happiness. And it's up to you. It's your choice. We are going through a massive upgrade here on planet Earth. And this message is for those of us who are willing to create a new reality for ourselves. And if you want to come on the train, let's go. Let's get moving. There's so many energies here to support us as we move forward. They're encouraging us, they're affirming us, they're supporting us, they're assisting us, and more to come, people. Lots more to come. So I encourage you, open the door. Change your walls from being closed off to being open. Allow the light to light the way. And you will begin to notice, of course, you may struggle. You know, that's what people like me and other light workers are here to assist you with, because I've been doing this work since 2005. And there are moments where it's pretty dark. But once you can get past that and you can see what's possible, I guarantee you, you will have less stress, you will feel more balanced, you will flow more. So January 1st, 2023, we are moving into some really dynamic energy. There is hope, there's assistance here for you. And I hope that this has been inspirational and transformational. And as always, if you want to hear the actual channeled message, it's about 20 minutes. It's super clear. The link is below for you to do that. And until next time, I am, as always, sending you so much love, and thank you so much for watching today.